Hey there! In this series, I'm trying to beat Terraria with a Permanent Creative Shock in GetFixedBoi seed. In a previous episode, I was able to obtain starting weapons, accessories, and break out of the central island. Now it's time to address an elephant in the room. It's the progress. Despite the obvious restrictions of not having a tinkering table, hard mode anvils and ovens, there are some more crucial things. To progress through the game, I'll need to kill the bosses. All of the pre-hard mode bosses are not necessary for progression, except for Wall of Flesh. In order to summon it, I'll need a living guide. As you may recall, there was none at the start, so to let the guide move in, I'll need to build a house. Note that 1.4.5 is not out yet at the time of recording, and the guide can't appear in the world on their own. So I need to build a house. In a very rough words, house needs to be a closed space with a door, chair, table, and a light source. We have several suitable naturally generated structures, but all of them have some troubles. Underground cabins can't contain a chair. Floating island cabins can't contain a light source. Also, they are corrupted in this seed. Dungeon might be the option, but we are yet to discover it. Jungle Temple is inaccessible in pre-hard mode, as I can't move Shimmer or make Hoik to get inside. And the last is a Hell Ruins. They pass every check, except for unsafe walls. There are two types of walls in this game, safe and unsafe. Most of the naturally generated walls are considered unsafe, and monsters can spawn in front of them. Most of the player-placed walls are considered safe, and if you try to make a home out of unsafe walls, it will simply say, "This room is missing a wall." However, there are some naturally generated safe walls, like floating island cabin walls and pyramid walls. So what can we do to make a house? My first idea was to cover all of the unsafe walls in Underworld Ruin with ropes. Maybe that will help, but it didn't work. My second idea is to create a house with no walls. It is possible, but it's very restrictive. House can sustain a 4 wide or high gap in the walls anymore, and the house would be not valid. So how can we create a house without placing walls? I have an idea, but it's borderline insane. You see, there is a way for me to place blocks. It's dirt bombs. This item is mostly useless in a normal game, but I don't play a normal game. The main advantage of these bombs is their radius. It's very predictable, so I can totally imagine where to put them. And just like that, I've tried to make my first house with bombs. It didn't have gaps wider than 4 blocks, but for some reason it still wasn't valid. I was clearly missing something. So I went back to the wiki and reread the article on housing. As it turns out, I didn't make a space for NPC to stand on. The way it works is kinda complicated, but the general idea is that there must be a 3x3 area of open space with solid blocks beneath. As you can see, my house doesn't have that. I've tried to fix it, but ended up destroying the candle. Then I tried once again in a new layout. The main problem is that it's impossible to make a suitable house without walls, just with bombs. Their radius is way too big to fit all of the rules for a suitable house. If only there was a way to prevent placement of dirt blocks. And there is actually a way, 2 even. I can't place blocks, but I can place objects. One of them is a gravestone, but it's unpredictable. Other one is rope coils. Dirt blocks can't override or remove objects, so if I place rope coils in the needed block, then it will be protected from the dirt explosion. I can only place them on the ceiling or the floor, so I must be careful. Did I mention that I find it insane to try and build a house with bombs? Well, I just did. If you're not impressed, then I don't know how to impress you. But despite the achievement, this house is nearly useless. You see, this house doesn't contain a single safe wall, and when the game tries to move in an NPC, it searches for a safe wall. Yes, an NPC can live here, but it can't move here. The solution? Well, there is no solution. We need a house with a safe walls in order to get to hard mode. We actually need only one house with a safe walls, so NPC can move in. They won't be living there, they will only move there. It will be like a distributing house. I'll stop solving this free real estate problem for now. I need more information about my world and my options. I've managed to get to the desert biome, where I found a lovely little rainbow house on a large lake. Also, there was a sleeping angler. I hesitated to save him, as I won't be able to revive him if he dies, but then I decided to make some use of the home that I just built. Blood moons are much more common in this seed, which is much more annoying than harder. I found loom in one of the cabins and decided to make a battle standard to summon goblins. It went as bad as you may think. But eventually I won. Now I want to get to the surface. There are two main ways, through the ground and with a magic conch. Going through the ground is hard because of hunger and the lack of bombs. Getting a magic conch is harder because there is none in the underground desert and I don't have a recoverable supply of bait to catch one. In the upper part of the world, I found a strange zigzag pattern cave with a minecart track above, so I took the last of my bombs and went to check it out. It led me to a deeper part of the caves, where bombs started to drop from the pots. This is a much more dangerous biome, as black slimes and skeletons begin to appear. It is technically an underground, but there are two more biomes above. Next level is a crispy honey blocks with lava pools. The passages are tight here, so it's really hard to navigate. Any damage I take could lead me to fall into the lava and die. Right above this biome is a hive level with jungle blocks. I'm not prepared for any jungle encounters. And then I found the way up, a corrupted cave that led to the surface. And as expected, I die really quickly, but it was worth it. Now with the surface breached, I've got new ideas. My next one is trying to set my spawn point in a different place. I can't place beds, but I can find some and create a house around them with bombs. The conditions for a bed to become a spawn point are really not that harsh, so I can easily try them out. So I found this suitable bed and began to construct a house out of bombs. I was doing it in Photoshop, and I wish I could show it to you, but I didn't record it. But don't worry, I'll show it to you later. Using everything that I know about ropes and bombs, I finished it. And yeah, it was successful, but you may notice a minor problem. The passage out is way too small for me to fit through. And really, I challenge you to try and come up with a suitable house without walls that you can fit in, built only with bombs and ropes. Only if the platform wasn't that far away. But I digress. I'm not that worried about it. For now it's just a proof of concept. Later I can find the road of Discord or whatever, we'll see. I went exploring a bit more and found the skeleton merchant. He had a ton of interesting loot, but all I ever worried about was bombs. So I spent every single last of my coin on it. I even sold all of my Halloween costumes and duplicates just to squeeze a bit more bombs. Now I have 4,000 bombs. And the exploration is really about to change. I can finally make a reverse elevator, so going up won't be a challenge anymore. Then, to my surprise, I found the lava charm. This is another huge game changer, as I can no longer worry about accidentally touching the lava and taking insane 200 plus damage from touching lava this seed has. In the upper levels I found the Crimson Heart, which finally gave me a light pad, albeit a very bad one. I proceeded to go to the surface through a Crimson Cave. Traversing a surface Crimson biome is actually much easier than the Corruption, as there only one flying enemy. There I was able to find a pyramid, which is apparently almost guaranteed in this seed, but still tickles me the right way, and then I found a dead living tree. I already knew what's probably going to be underneath, so I sealed myself with bombs and went to investigate. And there it is, the entrance to the dungeon. It's actually a huge discovery, but let's take it step by step. First of all, alchemy table. If you didn't notice, I wasn't able to make potions or powders until now, as it requires placing a bottle. Then, if you pay close attention, there is a chair, a door, a light source, and a piano. There is also a passage out of the dungeon through a boulder trap, which overrides dungeon blocks for some reason. There is also a living tree nearby, with living tree walls inside. Everything seemed perfectly aligned for me to try and make the most obscure house I've ever come up with. Now I'm going to show you the way I do my house bombing predictions. I open up Photoshop and start painting the map view of my house. Everything counts, even statues, rubble and spikes. Then I start placing dirt bombs. The white semi-transparent part is where the dirt is created. The dot in the middle is an exact block where I should place the bomb. For now, most of the bombs are hanging in the air, as I'm just trying to make sense of how to make a house. Some bombs overlap with another, or with furniture, but they won't destroy the existing tiles. When I was done mapping the dungeon part of the house, I've added the outer part with the living tree, and this is my semi-final result. Theory out of the way, now it's time to make it in practice. Unfortunately, I wasn't quick enough when the bomb went off, and I've sealed myself inside. The only way out is teleporting to the start. Getting back through the surface is highly unlikely, so I'll need to make a somewhat safe passage underground. Getting up took me another hour, but I'm back and I'm ready to finish what I've started. The old man was getting in the way, so I considered killing him by summoning a Skeletron. There is no way I will be able to kill the boss, but at least I would get rid of the guy. Finally, I've placed the last bomb and this room is missing a wall. But I just couldn't find any 5-block gaps, and then it dawned on me. The living tree walls are not safe. My first question was, since when? Because I remember clearly that they were, and it was a part of speedrunning tactics to create several houses quickly. And yeah, since 1.4 they are no longer safe. I can even guess why. The gnomes were added in this update, and they spawn in front of the living tree walls. The gnomes took my brilliant plan of creating a house. I don't know what to do now. I don't have much options left, if any. The only place I can think of right now is a pyramid. If there is some insanely lucky underground cabin nearby, then maybe I will be able to make a house there. I found the pyramid and the awesome loot inside, but that's not important. The important part is that the pyramid spawned on top of the giant crimson maw, so there were no cabins nearby. I was really upset. I've tried to find something on my own, but finally gave up and opened up my whole map, just to confirm that there is nowhere in the world where I could build a house. There is my pretty cool cursed pyramid. This is the closest underground cabin to my home, and it's too far away. That's the shimmer, and also this funny little line. And there is the closest underground cabin to the houses in the underworld. It is also too far away. If you don't believe me, then there is my analysis. I've tried to create the most thin house without walls. The house should be fewer than 750 blocks, including the frame. Red blocks are considered the part of the house and will be counted when the game checks for the house size. The best option is on the left. It's 3.5 house blocks per block of elevation. But looking at the proportions of the bomb blast, the right option is much more realistic, but it occupies 5 blocks of house per block of elevation. Regardless, both of them wouldn't work. My very last attempt of making a house is creating a safe wall nearby by purification. There is a page on the wiki about solutions. Most of them convert blocks into unsafe walls, with one exception, stone wall. By purifying unsafe evil stone wall, I'll get a safe stone wall. And there is a patch of evil stone wall that I can convert, potentially. To do so, I'll need a purification powder. It can be bought from the Dryad or made in Shimmer by converting vile or vicious powders. I made a vicious powder on an alchemy table and went to my pilgrimage to the Shimmer biome, and it ended shortly after. As it turns out, Shimmer replaces water on the edges of the map, so I got my powder, tried to shimmer some other things, and was eaten alive. Then I went back to the evil wall and it doesn't convert. The thing is, purification powder, for some reason, can't convert walls, only blocks. Its evil counterparts can, but for some reason, it just can't. I think I'm stuck. There is no other way for me to create a house. It's funny though, in the next update, NPCs will be able to spawn on their own, even without a home. You just need to meet the requirements for their spawn. So I hate to do that, but to progress in this pre-update world, I'll need to cheat. I turn off the Permanent Creative Shock and replace 3 sinful walls. Yeah, shame on me. Now the house says that it's corrupted. No wonder. It is placed inside the giant crimson cave, but that's nothing a dozen bombs can fix. Opening up all the space led to spawning a lot of flying mobs that were a pain to deal with, but I'm already getting used to doing impossible tasks. Now, with the whole area destroyed, the house says that it's not a viable housing. Go into the wiki again to check what I did miss, and as it turns out, that living tree part of the house is too narrow. I tried to fix it with bombs and ended up destroying the walls I placed previously. Whoops. Nobody saw that. And just like that, I've built my first house. Hooray! Now let's get back to the question. Is it possible to complete Terraria GetFixedBoi with a Permanent Creative Shock? It depends on your world settings and on the version. I was unlucky enough to try and do this in the version that is no longer allowed to create houses out of living trees and still doesn't allow the NPCs to move in on their own. So yeah, see you next time. Bye.